case occurred on the 5th of March 2008 in Ceras, Kuala Lumpur. The victim was an adult female whose body was discovered on the top floor of a 13-story building approximately 40 meters above the ground level. The investigation began after residents reported a foul odor coming from the elevator area. Police later traced the smell to a secure maintenance room located on the top floor of the building. Upon discovery, the body was found lying face down and was already in a moderate stage of decomposition. During the postmortem examinations, larvae were observed around the neck region of the victim. The forensic pathologists conclude that the cause of death was a pelvic injury resulting from an accidental fall. Further investigation revealed that the victim had been missing for approximately 12 days before her body was found. This case is considered unique for several reasons. First, the body was discovered on the top floor of a 13-story building. Most forensic entomology cases involve bodies found at ground level, making these locations unusual. Second, the corpse was colonized exclusively by Synthesiomyia Nudiseta, a marsupial fly species that rarely reported in forensic investigations. The presence of this species provided valuable entomological evidence for estimating the postmortem interval. Another significant feature is that this was the first reported case in Malaysia involving Synthesiomyia Nudiseta on a human corpse found in a high-rise building. The findings demonstrated that this species is capable of locating and colonizing a corpse even at a considerable height. Finally, the developmental stages of the larvae were used to estimate the postmortem interval, which was determined to be approximately 5 to 9 days before the body was discovered. These estimations was consistent with the forensic pathologist's assessments, highlighting the importance of forensic entomology in death investigation.
Next, let's look at the entomological evidence collected in this case. Larval specimens were harvested from the victim's snacks during the autopsy on March 6, 2008. Some of the larvae were preserved in 70% alcohol, while others were kept alive for rearing. The preserved larvae were used for species identification under a light microscope. Several key morphological features were observed. The posterior spiracle showed 3 distinct S-shaped slits with a complete paratrip. In addition, the anterior region revealed a cephalopharyngeal structure with an accessory scleroid, and the anterior spiracle has 6 papillae arranged in a single row. These features are diagnostic characteristics which allow the forensic entomologist to accurately identify the species. Meanwhile, the leaf larvae were used in a rearing process to establish the developmental timeline. They were captured on beef liver and kept in an incubator at 28 plus minus 1 degrees Celsius with a relative humidity between 70 to 85%. The larvae pupate on March 12 and later emerged as adult flies on March 20, 2008, which took exactly 9 days. The combination of microscopic identification and larval rearing strongly identified the larvae as Synthesiomyia Nudiseta. However, these raw entomological findings alone are not sufficient to solve the case. Therefore, we proceed to the scientific analysis where we apply environmental data, insect biology, and mathematical reasoning. First, the temperature of the indoor crime scene was recorded using a data logger placed at the location for 30 days after discovery. The results show a stable indoor temperature of approximately 29.6 plus minus 1.3 degrees Celsius. This warm and consistent microclimate will have accelerated decomposition and provide ideal conditions for larval growth. To estimate the time of death, we apply the known life cycle of Synthesiomyia Nudiseta based on Rabinovic's 1970 study. He reported that at around 28 degrees Celsius, the total development time from egg to adult is approximately 17.8 days. Using this data, we perform a backward calculation from the induced emergence date, which was March 20, 2008. This indicates the egg deposition likely occurred between February 29 and March 4, 2008. However, based on insect behavior, Synthesiomyia Nudiseta is considered a late colonizer, meaning it is typically attracted to bodies in the putrefaction stage. Therefore, an additional pre-colonization interval of approximately 4 days was added. These adjustments resulted in an estimated time of death between February 25 and February 29, 2008, giving a post-mortem interval of approximately 5 to 9 days. To strengthen the study, a conflicting study by Kumara in 2009 was evaluated. This study suggests a shorter life cycle of approximately 13.4 days under similar temperature conditions. However, applying this shorter timeline would place egg deposition between March 7 and March 9, 2008, which is after the body was already discovered on March 5, 2008. This creates a biological impossibility, and therefore, the Kumar study was not suitable for this case. This demonstrates how forensic entomology combines biological evidence with scientific reasoning to produce a reliable and logical conclusion in that investigation.
Typical outdoor death scenes features a succession of multiple insect families such as blowflies, flash flies, and beetles. This scope presented a strict monospecific infestation exclusively colonized by a single muscid species, which is Synthesiomyia Nudiseta. There was a complete and highly unusual absence of primary colonizers like blowflies, which normally dominate indoor environments up to certain levels. Next, the latecomer bottleneck. Primary blowflies possess highly acute olfactory senses that draw them to fresh wounds within minutes of death. This species is an uncommon latecomer that is primarily attracted to heavily putrid meat and advanced decomposition stages. Because it targets older carrion, the insect activity cycle did not begin when the victim died, creating a natural delay in colonization. Lastly, the investigative conflict. Traditional entomology tells us the period of insect activity, meaning how long the maggots have been feeding on the body. Knowing the maggots are 5 days old does not automatically mean that the person has been dead for 5 days. Investigators face a conflict of how to mathematically account for the hidden days the body lay in isolation before it became putrid enough to attract the fly. The first alternative is to implement a pre-colonization correction layer. Explicitly separate the post-mortem interval into two phases, which are the pre-colonization interval (PCI) and the period of insect activity (PIA). Back-calculate the maggot age to establish the PIA, and then add a scientifically justified mathematical constant, which is a 4-day decomposition buffer, to account for the latecomer attraction timeline. The second alternative is to corroborate via gross pathological decomposition changes. Rather than relying entirely on the insects, weigh the entomological calculation directly against the forensic pathologist's physical assessment of body changes such as fluid pooling, skin slippage, and also the 12 days missing person timeline.
Moving on to the final results of the investigation, the case outcome. By analyzing the advanced pupation stage and calculating the development threshold of Synthesiomyia Nudiseta in the laboratory, the forensic entomology team successfully estimated the post-mortem interval, or PMI. The victim was determined to have passed away 5 to 9 days before the body was discovered. The entomological timeline aligned perfectly with the medical autopsy report, which confirmed that there were no signs of foul play or physical assault. Ultimately, the forensic evidence concluded that this was not a homicide but a tragic accidental fault within the high-rise elevator room, resulting in a fatal pelvic injury. This proves how insect evidence can successfully rule out false criminal suspicions. Based on the unique parameters of this case, we propose 2 critical recommendations to enhance future forensic standard operating procedures in Malaysia. First, we recommend that Royal Malaysia Police (SI) teams enforce mandatory insect sampling protocols at all high-rise crime scenes, regardless of how high the floor is.
As proven in this case, structural height does not prevent carrion insects from locating a body, as they utilize elevator shafts and ventilation system as vertical highways driven by decomposition orders. Second, there must be specialized training in identifying non-califorate species such as the MUSCIDAE family. Misidentifying Synthesiomyia Nudiseta as a common housefly would lead to massive errors in PMI estimations, potentially compromising judicial accuracy in court. Finally, let us look at the lesson learned from this landmark Malaysian case. The greatest takeaway is that insects are truly the ultimate silent witnesses. Where traditional physical indicators like rigor mortis or body temperature fail due to ambient room heat, insect succession step in to provide an objective biological timeline. Furthermore, this case teaches us that urban ecology is shifting. High-rise architecture in modern cities like Kuala Lumpur alters insect colonization paths but cannot stop nature's decomposers. As future forensic practitioners, we must adopt a holistic approach, realizing that combining entomology with traditional pathology is vital to ensuring absolute accuracy and justice in the courtroom.